Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Mr. Carlo Mangubat. We are the Group 1, and we're going to talk about the Lesson 5, which is the construction of written test. Alright, asking students to demonstrate their understanding of the subject matter is critical to the learning process. It is essential to evaluate whether the educational goals or standards of the lessons are being met or necessarily engaged. Assessment affects decision about grades, placement, advancement, instructional needs, curriculum, and in some cases, funding. Assessment inspires us to ask these hard questions. Are we teaching what we think we are teaching? Or are students learning what they are supposed to be learning? Alright, what are the general guidelines in choosing the appropriate test format? Not every test is universally valid for every type of learning outcome. Choosing the appropriate test format is an important component to drawing appropriate conclusions in a study because testing is a part of learning and lets students show what they know and what they can do. The purpose of this one is for the student show what he or she has learned. And this one, we're going to have or to show you the following are essential questions to guide learners on choosing the right and appropriate test format. First question, what are the objectives or desired learning outcomes of the subject unit lesson being assessed? The DLOs, which is desired learning outcomes, these are the statements of what learners are expected to do or demonstrate as a result of engaging in the learning process. So DLO also, Center of Teaching Excellence. They are student-centered, not teacher-centered, which describe the measurable skills, abilities, and knowledge process. It is suggested that you return to Lesson 4 to review on how to set or write instructional objectives or intended learning outcomes for a subject. To continue our topic, so Lesson 4 is about planning a written test. So it consists of 5 subtopics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Like, what do we need to define the test objectives or learning outcomes targeted for assessment, objectives for testing, TOS or the table of specifications, the steps in developing a table of specifications, and the different formats of a test table of specifications. So let's proceed to the second one.
What level of thinking is to assess? For example, remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Does the cognitive level of the test question match your instructional or DLOs? Level of thinking need to be assessed as an important factor to consider when designing a test. When constructing classroom assessment tools, it is important and necessary to take note the levels of cognitive behaviors. Remembering is the student can recognize and recall relevant knowledge from long-term memory, such as define, list, memorize, and repeat. Understanding. Student can construct meaning from oral, written, and graphic messages, such as interpret, classify, summarizes, and compare. Then, applying. The students can use information in a new way, like demonstrate, dramatize, interpret, solve, use, illustrate, convert, and discuss. Analyzing. Analyzing, the student can distinguish between parts, how they relate to each other, and to the overall structure and purpose, such as like compare, contrast, criticize, differentiate, discriminate, question, classify, and experiment. Evaluating, student can make judgments and justify decisions, such as like argue, defend, judge, select, support, evaluate, debate, measure, select, and test. Then creating. Creating, the student can put elements together to form a functional whole, create a new product or point of view, such as assemble, generate, construct, design, develop, formulate, rearrange, rewrite, and organize. and taking into consider the knowledge dimensions. Those are the important of assesses. Next,
Is the test matched or aligned with the courses of DLOs and the course contents or learning activities? The assessment task should be aligned with the instructional activities and the DLOs. It is important that you are clear about what DLOs are to be addressed by your test and what course activities or tasks are to be implemented to achieve the DLOs. If you want your student to justify their stand on ethical decision making and social responsibilities practices in business, essay and debates are appropriate measures and tasks for this learning outcome. The teaching methods and the assessment are aligned to the learning activities designed to achieve the learning outcomes. Aligning the assessment with the learning outcomes means that students know how their achievements will be measured. The essence of a learning activity is that it must have an associated learning outcome. However, it must also have a task that is something concrete that the learner has to do. Learners may also need resources, sometimes called content, in order to be able to complete the tasks.
Are the test items realistic to the students? Test items should be meaningful and realistic to the learners. They should be related to everyday experience. As a teacher, it should be meaningful and realistic for the students in order for us to determine if they truly understand the topic. To have a meaningful and realistic test, teacher must meet certain requirements. So it must be intended to impact beyond the students.
What are the major categories and formats of traditional tests? The purposes of classroom assessment, traditional tests, fall into two general categories. So these are the two general categories. The first one, selected response type. As the name implies, selected response items are those in which students read a question and are presented with a set of responses from which they choose the best answer. So question types examples are multiple choice, matching type, true or false, as well as fill in the blanks or short answer question. So let's go to the second one, second general category, constructed response type. It is an item refer to a wide range of test items that require examines to produce answers in various formats. They are often constructed or compared to multiple choice or to the first general category, in which items examines are required to select one or multiple appropriate questions of the given list.
We have the selected response test. It requires learners to choose the correct answer or best alternative from several choices. And then, while they can cover a wide range of learning materials very efficiently, and validity measure a variety of learning outcomes. And then in selected response items, students choose a response provided by an instructor and construct their own words rather than actions. So these are the examples. We have the multiple choice test. It is the most commonly used format in formal testing and typically consists of a stem or a problem. We have the true false alternative response test, and the last one, it is the matching type test. So it depends on the numbering or the number of items. We have the 1 to 10, it is multiple choice test. 11 to 20, it's true, false, or alternative response test, and so on.
next, enumeration. It requires the learners to list down all possible answers to question. Example for this is the matching type.
Essay test. It consists of questions that requires learners to compose or construct written responses, usually long ones with several paragraphs. Essay test requires the students to see the significance and meaning of what we know. It tests our knowledge and understanding of the subject and the skill in reading and writing. These tests are designed to showcase students' abilities to provide specific information. In essay test, students can give their own opinion about a certain topic.
Problem-solving test also evaluates a student's ability to understand instruction, analyze data, respond to complex problem and situation. In problem-solving tests are designed to get insights into their problem-solving, learning agility and coachability. In this type of test, we can use skills such as abstract reasoning, deductive reasoning, critical thinking, and inductive reasoning.
That would be all. Thank you.